Imagine for a second that you have to hit the reset button on civilization. Everything is just gone. The institutions, the legal codes, the libraries, all of it wiped clean.
Total blank slate.
Total blank slate. And you have this massive responsibility of rebuilding society from scratch. But here's the catch. You only have space for a single document to serve as the foundation. Not a library, not a constitution with 1,000 amendments, just one page.
That is the ultimate desert island scenario, isn't it?
Right. So what even goes on that page? A list of laws, a philosophy, a mission statement. You need a charter that outlines the moral, social, and spiritual bedrock of a new world, but it has to be concise.
Well, I think most people would probably start brainstorming a list of roles. You know, don't steal, don't kill, maybe some tax codes.
Sure.
But list of rules isn't a civilization. You need a why that holds the what together. You need a logic that binds the individual to the collective.
Exactly. And that is the mission for this deep dive. We're looking at a source that claims this charter, it already exists. But here's the hook that really grabbed me.
Right.
It's only 3 verses long.
3 verses. It is incredibly dense material.
We are diving deep into Surah Al-Am, specifically verses 151 through 153. And our source material for this isn't a history book, it's a tadabbur, which is a deep contemplative analysis of the text itself. And the argument here is that this isn't just a random scattershot of commandments, it's actually a geometric structure.
That is the key insight. Yeah, if you read it casually, it just looks like a list. But the source material shows us it's actually an algorithm, really, for a functioning society. It moves from strict prohibitions, the boundaries, to active obligations, and then finally to this unified concept of the straight path.
So before we jump in, let's just set the ground rules for you listening. We are sticking strictly to the text and the Qur'anic logic that's presented in our source. We're not bringing in outside philosophy or, modern politics. We just want to see how this document builds its own argument from the ground up.
Okay. Let's open the charter.
It begins in verse 151, and immediately the source flags the very first word, tala. Now, a standard translation usually renders this as come here or come, let me recite. But the expert analysis says there's a lot more directional nuance there.
Right. In Arabic, if I just want you to come over to my desk, I'd use a different word entirely. Tala comes from the root ulu, which means height or elevation.
Height. Okay.
So a better, more literal translation would be come up.
Come up. I love that.
It implies that the listener is currently down in the lowlands, maybe the lowlands of conjecture or cultural habits, or just the status quo. The text is inviting you to ascend. It's saying, elevate yourself to a higher vantage point so you can hear what is actually true.
So it sets the tone immediately. This isn't a horizontal conversation between equals, it's a vertical one.
Exactly.
And what we are climbing up to here is described as Arama Rabbukum, what the Lord has made inviolable.
Sacred boundaries, the things that are, completely off limits.
So we start with the don'ts. And the source lists 5 fundamental prohibitions in this first verse. Number 1, the absolute root of it all. Shirk. Do not associate partners with God.
Now let's pause here, because for a modern secular listener or someone just looking at this as a social charter, this might feel like a purely theological point. Okay, believe in one God, got it.
Right.
But the source argues this is actually a massive socio-political stance.
How so? I mean, if we're building a society, why does theology have to be the very first brick?
Because shirk isn't just about bowing to a statue, it's about authority. If you don't anchor your moral system in a singular absolute creator, you inevitably anchor it in something created, a king, a government, the market, or even your own ego.
So the logic is that all injustice starts with a misplaced loyalty.
Precisely. If authority is fragmented, justice becomes fragmented. You need a singular North Star. The source argues that if you don't get the primary relationship, the one between the created and the creator right, every other relationship in society becomes unstable. It's the anchor for everything that follows.
Which segues perfectly into the second prohibition. And honestly, the placement here, it shocked me. Immediately after, don't associate partners with God, the text says, and excellence toward parents.
It is a jarring shift, isn't it?
It is. You go from the cosmic magnitude of God directly to your mom and dad in the living room?
Yeah.
Why that specific link? Why not don't kill or don't steal next?
It's the chain of command. God is the ultimate cause of your existence. Your parents are the immediate cause. If you cannot show Esan excellence to the people who literally brought you into being, who wiped your nose when you were helpless,
right,
you have zero capacity to be ethical on a societal level.
So it's the training ground.
It's the litmus test. The source calls this the link between the theological and the domestic. I mean, you can't claim to love God and treat your parents with disrespect. The system just breaks down. If you fail the micro level, you will fail at the macro level.
Moving down the list, the third prohibition takes a much, much darker turn. The text says, do not kill your children out of imlak.
Imlak, meaning poverty.
Now, obviously, infanticide is universally horrific, but the source zooms in on the motivation. It doesn't just say don't kill. It says don't kill because you are poor.
Actually, the source points out it's even more subtle. Imlak here refers to the fear of poverty.
The fear of it.
Yes. This is attacking the scarcity mindset.
The idea that there isn't enough.
Right. In the pre-Islamic context, this was literal, people burying children because they felt they couldn't feed them. But the source invites us to look at the principle. This is about economic anxiety driving the destruction of life.
That feels incredibly modern, the idea that I can't afford to have a family or resources are too scarce to support this population.
Exactly. And notice the counter-argument the text provides. It says, we provide for you and for them.
The source pointed out the grammar there is really important. It puts the parent first.
Yes, it's reassuring the parent. Your sustenance is already guaranteed by the Creator, and the child comes with their own package of sustenance. It's dismantling the economic fear that justifies violence or the suppression of life. It's establishing that the economy serves humanity, not the other way around.
Yeah, okay, so we have authority, God, family, parents, and life, children. The fourth prohibition moves to personal morality. Do not approach indecencies al-fawahish, whether open or hidden.
The key word here, and the source really stresses this, is approach.
It's that buffer zone concept.
Think of a cliff. A safety manual doesn't just say don't fall off, it says don't hang your feet over the edge.
Right.
The Qur'anic logic here is preventative.
Yeah.
If you wait until you are in the heat of the moment to make a moral decision, you've probably already lost. You have to block the path to the sin.
And the open and hidden part, that feels like it's addressing hypocrisy.
It's the integrity check. Fawahish are shameful acts, usually sexual or behavioral excesses. And the source notes that a society often polices the open stuff, public indecency, what people can see, but ignores the hidden.
The private corruption.
The private corruption, the secret addictions. The charter says no. You can't sanitize the storefront if the warehouse is full of rot. Both have to be clean.
And finally, the fifth prohibition in this verse. Do not kill the soul which Allah has made sacred except by right.
This reestablishes the default setting of human existence. Sanctity. You just cannot touch a life. It is divinely protected.
But there is that exception clause, except by right.
And that is crucial. By right means by the due process of law. It means the state, the judge, the objective system. It implies that vigilante justice is prohibited. You don't get to kill because you're angry or because of a blood feud or a vendetta.
So it removes justice from the realm of pure emotion and puts it in the realm of law.
Exactly. Justice has to be objective or it's just revenge. And a civilized society cannot function on revenge.
So that wraps up. Verse 151. We have 5 really heavy boundaries. But the way this verse ends, it just threw me for a loop.
The concluding phrase.
Yeah. After telling me not to kill, not to cheat, and to be good to my parents, I expected it to say something like, so that you may be holy, or so that you may be good people. But it ends with, so that you may use reason, Takulin.
This is one of the most important insights in the source material. It's defining the relationship between faith and intellect.
Usually in our modern discourse, we are told those are opposites, faith versus reason.
Here, the text presents them as basically synonymous. The text is arguing that these moral boundaries aren't just arbitrary rules to test your obedience. They are rational necessities.
So it's logical not to kill.
It's logical to treat parents well. It's logical not to be ruled by your impulses. It's logical to respect life. The source is saying, if you actually use your brain, if you engage your akulin, you will independently arrive at the conclusion that a society needs these pillars to survive.
That's a powerful pivot. It frames morality as the ultimate form of intelligence.
Correct. Immorality is stupid. It's self-destructive. That's the core argument.
So verse 151 gave us the prohibitions and ended with reason. Now we move to verse 152. And the source calls this section the responsibilities. We're shifting from don't do this to you must do this.
And look who it starts with. The very first obligation isn't about prayer or fasting. It's do not approach the wealth of the orphan.
Again, that word approach.
Except to improve it. This is the ethics of power. Think about an orphan in that context. They have no father, no tribe to back them up, no political clout. They are the definition of vulnerability.
So if you steal from them, no one is going to catch you. There's no watchdog.
Exactly. There are no consequences in this world. And that is why it's the first test of the new charter. How do you treat a person who has zero power over you? That is the true measure of a civilization. If you only act ethically when the other guy has a lawyer or a gun, you aren't ethical, you're just prudent.
And protecting the orphan leads into the second obligation, which is about business. Give full measure and weight with justice.
And the source emphasizes no minor cheating.
It feels like this applies way beyond just the grocery store scale. This seems to be about the entire social contract.
It's universal. It's about the contract. If your employee paid for 8 hours, do you work 8 hours? If you sell a car, do you disclose the scratch on the bumper? The source connects this to the concept of worship.
Wow.
Economic integrity isn't just good business. It's a spiritual state. You cannot be a pious person and a crooked merchant.
Now, right in the middle of these really intense, demand-saving orphans, perfect business ethics, the text just pauses. There's this little parenthetical phrase, "We do not burden any soul beyond its capacity."
I love this inclusion. It's the principle of divine balance.
It feels like a relief breath, like the text knows this is all really hard.
It is. The standard is perfection, full measure, but the expectation is effort. God knows you might make a mistake in the calculation. He knows you're human. The charter isn't asking for angel-like perfection. It's asking for a sincere striving toward justice. It removes the anxiety of I have to be perfect and replaces it with I have to be honest.
Honest effort. I like that.
Okay.
But then we get to the really hard part, the third obligation. And when you speak, be just, even if it concerns a near relative.
Truth over tribe.
This is the one that destroys most societies.
It is the hardest command in the list. I mean, it's easy to call out the corruption of your enemy. It's easy to demand justice when you are the victim. But can you speak the truth when it incriminates your own brother?
Or your party.
Can you vote against your own party when they are wrong? Can you testify against your own business partner?
The source highlights that this just destroys nepotism and partisanship at their root.
It demands that your speech be objective.
Yeah.
Justice is blind to relationships. If you bend the truth because he's my guy, you have violated the charter. You've corrupted the entire system.
And the final obligation in this verse wraps it all up. Fulfill the covenant of Allah.
This is the umbrella term. It covers revelation, moral trusts, social contracts. It's the signature at the bottom of the document.
Now look at the ending of verse 152. The previous verse ended with, so that you may use reason. This one ends with, so that you may remember Tarakaren.
The shift is so crucial. Verse 151 appealed to your intellect. Verse 152 appeals to your memory.
What are we remembering?
We are remembering who we are. The theological concept here is fitra, the natural innate disposition of the human being. The source argues that these truths, protecting the weak, being honest, justice, these aren't new inventions.
Right.
You don't need a PhD to know stealing from an orphan is wrong.
It's pre-installed software.
Exactly. Deep down, your soul already knows this. So when the revelation commands it, it's not teaching you a new trick. It's reminding you of a truth you forgot. Deviation is a form of amnesia. Guidance is remembering.
That is beautiful. So we have reason in 151, remembrance in 152. And now we arrive at the finale, verse 153. The source calls this the geometry of guidance.
This is the verse that draws the map. It takes all these abstract rules and puts them into a visual format.
The text says, and this is my path straight, so follow it.
Let's parse the geometry here. First, my path, here, it is singular.
One path.
Not a path, the path. The source emphasizes that truth is singular because reality is singular. There aren't 5 different versions of don't kill the innocent.
And it's described as Mustaqeem straight.
Which geometrically is the shortest distance between 2 points. It's efficient, it's upright, it doesn't wind around.
But here comes the warning, and this is where the geometry gets complicated. And do not follow the paths as subul, plural.
This is the visual. Imagine one massive wide highway going straight up a mountain. That's the Iri. But branching off of it to the left and right are hundreds of little dirt trails, shortcuts, and winding roads. Those are the subul.
And what do those represent?
The source defines them as ideologies, sects, desires, innovations. Anything that fragments the unity of that central moral highway.
So the truth is singular, but falsehood is plural.
That's the takeaway. There's only one way to be healthy, but 1,000 ways to be sick.
And the text says, if you follow these subul, they will separate you from his path.
Note the mechanism there. The paths separate you. Division is the result of deviation.
We often hear people say, we are so divided, we need unity.
But the source argues you cannot have unity without the path. Division is just a symptom that people have drifted onto different subble. If everyone gets back on the main highway, unity happens automatically. You don't build unity, you achieve it by converging on the truth.
And the final goal, verse 153, ends with, so that you may attain taqwa.
Look at the ladder we've climbed. Step 1, reason, taqliyah, understanding the logic of the boundaries.
Right.
Step 2, remembrance, tathakarun, internalizing the ethics as your nature. And step 3, taqwa, God consciousness.
Define taqwa for us in this context.
It's often translated as fear of God, but I think the better operational definition is self-protection. It's a state of high alert. You are fully conscious of the boundaries, fully engaged with your responsibilities, and you're actively protecting yourself from falling off the path. It is the highest state of human development.
So it's a complete system. You start with intellect, you move to internalization, and you end with a permanent state of conscious awareness.
Exactly.
I want to zoom out for a second before we wrap up. The source makes a connection here that it blew my mind. It links this charter in Surah Al-An'am back to the very opening chapter of the Qur'an, Al-Fatiha.
Oh, the prayer.
Right. Muslims recite Al-Fatiha dozens of times a day. And the core request in that prayer is, Idina al-Mustaqeem, guide us to the straight path.
We ask for the straight path every single day, but what is the straight path?
The source argues, this is it. Surah Al-An'am verses 151, 153 are the definition.
That clicks. So when you pray for the path, you aren't asking for some magical beam of light. You're asking for the strength to not kill out of poverty, to not cheat in business, to speak the truth against your own kin.
And to stay away from indecency.
These commandments are the geometry of the path.
And in Al-Fatiha, we ask not to be of those who earned anger or those who went astray.
And that maps perfectly, too. The source suggests those who earned anger are the ones who know the boundaries from verse 151 but violate them anyway. That's willful corruption.
And those who went astray?
Those are the ones following the fragmented paths in verse 153. They're lost in the details, confused by ideologies, just drifting away from the center.
It ties the whole book together.
It really does. It transforms the religion from, a set of rituals into a coherent moral trajectory.
So if we had to summarize this divine charter in just one sentence,
I'd say Islam is presented here not as a cultural identity or a tribe, but as one straight moral path. It's built on the foundation of Tawheed, the authority of God. It's protected by objective justice, and it's destroyed by deviating into the fragmented paths of sectarianism and desire.
A robust foundation for a civilization.
The only one that works, according to the text.
So here's a final thought for you listening to chew on. We talked about the subtle, those divergent paths that pull us away from the center, and the source mentioned mapping modern systems onto this concept.
It's a provocative exercise.
If the straight path is singular and rooted in these universal ethics, integrity, justice, sanctity of life, then we have to ask ourselves, what are the subalartans in our lives right now?
What are the modern paths?
Is it hypernationalism? Is it consumerism? Is it blind loyalty to a political party? What are the shiny side roads that promise progress but are actually creating the division and the fragmentation the text warns against?
Identify your subble and you'll know why you feel lost.
Deep stuff. Thanks for climbing the mountain with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.